So the first thing I want to talk to you about before we get into details about Florida is just about Sound of Some Prairie. The Sound of Some Prairie is a family. It's a family. It's a life-changing experience. It's not an extracurricular. It's not an activity. It's not just a part of the band program. It's nothing short of life-changing. And I can say that with all confidence because, as you know, you probably have heard friends and even other folks that have said, the Sound of Some Prairie changed my life, and it had that kind of difference and impact. And 50 years tells you a lot about that, right? You saw some great, previous shows and so on. And I would encourage you to, again, this year we're going to pull back some of those familiar faces and so on, and some of those people that have been part of this great organization for so many years. It's going to be a celebration. This next season is just going to be one for the books, where we're just going to sit back and just appreciate everything and move the ensemble and the group forward. But it's a family. And so when it comes to that family, obviously, everyone and every part of that's really important to this family. And the way the season lays out is this. In December, our hope is to reveal the concept of the next show. So Mr. Davis and Mr. McVeigh and I are deep in planning and working on show concepts and so on. We even have a new logo for the Sound of Some Prairie. All these things are happening right now. And in December, we're going to reveal some of that with the students and so on. And then in January, we're going to have an opportunity for students that would like to try out sound again for just a day, to have that opportunity to see what some rehearsals, what it would sound like, what it looks like a little bit. And then we'll have an official meeting for the Sound of Some Prairie, where we're going to really talk about, okay, here's how we register, here's how we sign up for it, and again, here's how we get involved. And then things just start going. Then from there, we'll have percussion and guard meeting on weekends. We'll have a leadership crew that'll be there to work on conducting skills and leadership within the group. And then we start some weekend rehearsals. When I joined the Sound of Some Prairie, one of the things that I wanted to bring to the table is balance, right? A little bit of balance. I mean, I get the perspective of being a parent also, but also, working in a profession, obviously, where it's long hours and so on. So, and I get the kids, and I understand the balance and so on. So what we did is we took a really hard look at the calendar, and we looked to see if we could balance things out during the school year that would get us the number of hours and minutes that would take, so that by the time we get to the end of the school year, one, we can march in the Memorial Day Parade, right? But then we could launch ourselves into the season and be ready. So what's interesting about sound is, and you can talk to Mark Davidson, he's lived this life for many, many years. He's got it down to a science. We know exactly how many hours it takes in minutes and so on to achieve a certain level of skill with the students. And we've got it to the point where we think we've honed it down, so it's just essential. It's the essential time, still being flexible, and then getting to the point, by the time we're done with the school year, that we hit the ground running, and then we do what we're called 9 to 9s. You may have heard from others that those days in the summer are long. And some people have asked, and it's a good question, it's like, why are they so long? Is this good? The thing about this is that you got to realize that we're not on the pavement for 12 hours. You know what I mean? We break up the day into many different facets because, as Mr. McVeigh said during our summer, when we were doing the August, he said, we're finally a marching band. We've been a band, we've been practicing the music, we practiced marching, now we put it all together. That happened the third day in. So all these component skills have to build. And I think that's one of the best things about sound is because kids realize that they play one part of it, that they're an essential part, but their impact makes something even bigger beyond themselves, right? To become something that's greater than yourself. And what's cool is that we build this, and then the students at night, the 8 o'clock, the 8:30 club, right? You get to see the culmination of all that work during the day, and it just builds upon itself. So, yeah, it's long hours, but it's broken down so that we're doing many different activities. And I think if you talk to the students as well, they look forward to it, and they look forward to those fun game nights, and we have dress-up things, and we go to the PAC one night, and we show up at the farmer's market and go play. And there's many things that we're going to do during the summer and those long hours to build this up. Then we get to the show part of the season. Now, here's the new thing for Sound of Some Prairie moving forward in 2022. We are part of Drum Corps International, the DCI show. How many went to the DCI show earlier this year. You're right. You got to see the Madison Scouts and the cadets and so on. And the thing is that those groups are older students, collegiate, level students and so on, playing at a very high level. One thing that I thought would be a really neat part of this experience would be for our students to hear that next level and to see that next level, because then that's going to inspire them, right, to be part of that. Plus, you saw the crowds, huge number of people. So that amps it up as well. And so I think one of the things that will be a little different is that our performances now will be during some of those shows. Mostly we're the youngest group there, obviously. We will be playing right away at that, and we'll get a chance to hear and see some of those other ensembles. But the number of performances that we can do will now go up. So we'll get a chance to play probably 7 to 8 different shows around the area. Everything from La Crosse to Dubuque to Milwaukee area, Cedarburg, and so on. And I think those are going to be really fun events, and most importantly, really exciting for the students. Our trip to Traverse City, which is kind of a staple, right, is still on the books. We're looking at doing that as well. In fact, we're planning on it. They haven't had a show as far as a field show for a number of years. And that's just because the number of ensembles doing field shows during that time of the year has just dwindled a little bit. Our long-range goal is to see that build up again. And I think that we're going to be, in fact, one of the first groups to be part of DCI, as we're called a sound sport group. But we're one of the very first, and I think we can help build this and encourage other high schools to do this as well. So we're kind of pioneering this, which is pretty exciting too. Once we grow this and so on, there's going to be some more opportunities for us. But we are planning to go back to Traverse City, and you'll see that. And we're going to march in probably 2 of their parades. And that's going to prepare us also for Florida. The Florida trip will happen right after that. And you'll hear all about that. But the neat experience about Florida then is marching down Main Street Disney or maybe even Universal Studios. So there's an audition process to get into those places and so on, and we're working through that right now. But we know we'll get a performance, obviously, down there. But it'll be a fun experience, obviously, for the students and so on. But hopefully, we'll find that your kids get inspired, and they take that to the next level, right, with their musicianship and their performance, and most importantly, to help them become better people. That's the number one thing, right, is to make sure that they leave here with something they didn't come in with. And they're going to leave a little more mature, a little happier, a little more excited about the future, a little more dedicated and so on. And we're excited to offer that. I think it's a very unique opportunity, and we're thrilled to have the privilege to work with your kids. So that's the Sound of Some Prairie in a nutshell. A very big overview. In our meeting in January, we're going to drill down and we'll talk about very specific things about the season and about timing and so on. We'll ask for your help to become part of the chuck wagon, or to sew, or, we need everybody to kind of build upon this to be ready for the season. But again, we're going to just push that off just a little bit. Tonight's focus is to tell you about this big trip to Florida and to give you information about fundraising and how we can make this accessible. We want to make sure that anybody who wants to be in sound is in sound. We want to make sure that anybody who wants to, Florida is just part of sound. It's not like a separate thing. That getting to Florida is going to be a possibility for everybody. And so I'm proud of the boosters and the work they've done to create many different opportunities to find ways to volunteer, donate. They found, folks to help raise funds and so on, but also to sell some stuff. Obviously, ways to generate some revenue in order to decrease the cost of the trip and so on. So they're going to give you some good information, and also Sarah from Bob Rogers, who's going to give you the details of the entire trip and kind of break down how the payment schedules work and all that kind of stuff as well. Okay? All right, so without further ado, please welcome Sarah McVeigh from Bob Rogers Travel.
Thank you. All right. As you said, I'm Sarah. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for letting me crash your meeting and get you guys excited about Orlando. I currently live in this community. We moved about a year ago, and it's actually really exciting for me to be working on a trip in my own local community and being able to serve you guys in this way. And I'm really, really excited about it and what the opportunities that you're going to have are going to be. Sorry, I don't teach all day every day, so excuse me while I catch my breath with the mask. I'm a mask wearer, but I just need a moment. All right. So Mr. Gleason commented how Sound of Sun Prairie can be totally life-changing, and I totally believe that, and I agree with that. I used to be a choir teacher, so I've seen how musical experiences truly can change the lives of students, and something like this organization that requires so much dedication and commitment, and then a huge reward for all of that at the end when you get to perform in these various competitions and shows, and then this trip at the very, very end, truly is life-changing. I've also seen how life-changing travel in the type of trip that this Orlando trip is going to be is very, very powerful. In my past career as a choir teacher, I saw those life-changing effects on my own students, and again, I'm excited to share them with you. So, the dates of the trip round out the Sound of Sun Prairie season. Very, very end, July 11th through the 16th, 2022, is when the trip will occur. We are taking motor coaches down to Orlando. If you've ever done the road trip down there, you know that that is a long drive. But I will say those bus rides are also a really important part to the experience, especially for the students, to just be together, learn how to be together for that long, and rally themselves when they eventually get to the parks the next day. So you'll depart on July 11th, and you will arrive in Orlando at Animal Kingdom. We have talked a lot about the 4 parks that Disney has. You'll be seeing 3 of those parks. It may change depending on what the directors and I discuss throughout time, but for right now, we decided that these 3 parks I'm about to talk about are your primary parks that we're going to be visiting because we think that they offer the most things that would be enjoyable to you. So Animal Kingdom, how many of you have been to Disney in the last 2 years? Okay, perfect. And those of you that have been there have been to Animal Kingdom? No, not some of you not, but most. Okay. So Animal Kingdom is a totally different park than it used to be. If you used to go to Disney or it's been a while, they now have the whole Avatar world, which is absolutely spectacular. It might be my favorite part of all of Disney World. It's just incredible. So if you can get on the Flights of Passage ride, number 1, just gonna throw that out there. We can talk about that later. During your day in the park, you're gonna get a $15 Disney dining card for lunch. And then because you drove through the night, we're actually gonna get you back to the hotel a little earlier than park closing would be so that you guys can check in, kind of relax, get settled into your hotel, and have a pizza dinner provided for you at that time. You can enjoy a little pool time. This will probably be your one day that you actually get to do pool time on the trip. The next day, we will be headed to Magic Kingdom. And again, this depends on acceptance to perform. What day you're accepted will just kind of move the days around. But just to give you a general overview, one of the days will be Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom, of course, is extremely magical, truly. Walking down Main Street, USA, just as a person, as a customer of Disney, is incredible. But to be able to march down Main Street, USA, is absolutely stunning, and I'm really excited for you guys to have that opportunity pending acceptance from Disney. This day we will also provide $15 Disney dining card for lunch and a $20 Disney dining card for dinner. So those meals you would get at your own time when you're not in a line, or on a ride or something like that. You would get those meals and you would have those dining cards to be able to pay for it. We did include every meal while you're in Orlando on this itinerary, so everything is going to be included in that price that we put at the end. And you'll see that throughout. And then the next day, we're going to head to Hollywood Studios. Again, very, very different park than it used to be. It used to be what I would call a half-day park, where there just wasn't a whole lot to offer. But now with all the new Star Wars stuff, Toy Story Land is incredible. If you haven't experienced those yet, they are worth your time, and you're just absolutely going to love it. Again, $15 Disney dining card for lunch and $20 Disney dining card for dinner. And then we'll head over to Universal Studios. So instead of doing a 4th day at Disney, we're gonna hop over to Universal. Now for students at the high school age level, if you love thrill rides, these are gonna be the parks that really allow you to have that thrill experience. Don't worry, there are also things to do if you're not a thrill seeker. You will have access to both Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios when you do this day. It's a park hopper, essentially. They call it a park-to-park pass. And the reason we do that is because this is where you're going to find all the Harry Potter stuff. You've got Diagon Alley, if you're a Harry Potter fan. First time that I turned my corner down Diagon Alley, I cried, I'm not gonna lie, it was so good. You've also got Hogsmeade, you've got Hogwarts, incredible rides associated with those, but there's also the Hogwarts Express, and you can't take the Hogwarts Express if you don't have the park-to-park pass. So anybody that goes to Universal, we just automatically make that part of your experience because we want you to be able to experience everything that you want to experience. On that day, you will have a Universal dining card as well for the lunch, and then we're gonna close the day with a group dinner at Hard Rock Cafe at Universal City Walk to kind of have your farewell dinner before you head home. Drive through the night, and the next day, you come home. So welcome home. The inclusions for this trip, everything that is going to be included is listed here. You're going to have your motor coach and driver gratuities included. 3 nights. The hotel that we have contracted for you is the Spring Hill Suites Flamingo Crossings. It is not on property, and the biggest reason for that is that the on-property hotels are, even the more budget-friendly ones, are a lot more expensive. And as a group, you don't get the same perks and benefits that you would as an individual family. So it's just much more productive for you guys to be off property, save a little bit of costs, and have an equally amazing experience. You will have overnight security at the hotel. So for those of you that are interested in chaperoning, you don't have to stay up all night, which is excellent news because you have people that are there to make sure everything is safe and everybody is in their room the whole night. You'll have breakfast at the hotel every day. As I mentioned, every meal while you're actually in Orlando is covered. Of course, you can bring extra for extra snacks or treats, or if you think that you'll spend more than the money that was allotted for those meals. The meals that are on the bus, so on the long haul from Wisconsin to Orlando and back, those are not included, but those are going to be like you stop at a place that has 3 or 4 or 5, fast food restaurants, so, $10 or less per meal, I would say. It will include the park-to-park ticket to Universal. It will include 3-day park starter to Disney. What that means is they are not park hoppers. Again, with groups, we really recommend the park starter so that you stay together as a group. And no, you're not walking through the park together as a group, but we don't want people running all over Disney World. If you've been there, it's huge, and we don't want people getting lost. The marching performance at Disney World or Universal, as Mr. Gleason mentioned, I should have thrown that out there. You'll have a tour director with you at all times that'll help just make sure things run smoothly. Check in when you get to the hotel is smooth. All the meal tickets get out into people's hands each day. They probably will not hand them out all at once because we know people lose things, and those are actual physical cards. Everybody will get a BRT drawstring bag, which is really nice to have for the parks, easy to search when you get into the security section to get into each park. Super easy to search and really sturdy, good quality bags. And then you'll also get a BRT souvenir and tracking messaging app. And that's a really nice thing because if, a student is late reporting to the bus on the way out of the park, which I'm sure none of you will be because you're all very responsible, and the director is trying to help them, maybe they're lost, and that's why, this group of 3 or 4 kids is not at the bus yet or something. They can literally look on that app, and don't worry, only people physically on the trip will be able to do the tracking, no extra weird people from the outside. They will be able to look on that app and say, oh my gosh, okay, you're over by this attraction, you're gonna turn right here, and you're gonna come here, and they can help them get back safely. Our insurance company really likes it that we include that. It's a nice safety feature. All right, so you're all dying to know, what is the cost? What is this going to cost me to send my student on this incredible experience? The cost for all of that, so basically an all-inclusive trip, is $12.25 per person. We have it so that up to 10 chaperones staying in double occupancy would pay that same price. I know that there will be an approval process for who those 10 chaperones will be, and I'll let your directors talk about that and handle that when the time comes. But the students will be staying in quad occupancy rooms, so 4 people to a room at the Spring Hill Suites Flamingo Crossing, which is where you'll be staying. It's a beautiful property, by the way, brand new as of 2016, and it's gorgeous. They do have, it is a suite, so you'll have 2 beds and then a pull-out couch. So 4 people in a room, but you've got space. So the payment schedule over on the right-hand side of the screen, the registration is not due formally until February 26th. You say, why the heck are we having this meeting so early? We're doing this because it's going to give you time to plan. We know that most people can't just whip out $1,200 and pay for a trip in only a couple of months. So we want to give you time to spread things out and pay things as you are able. Of course, if you do commit to this trip, you are also committing to Sound of Sun Prairie, is that correct? Yes. So if you do commit to this trip and decide you want to start paying this fall because you want to start spreading things out, you are saying right now, you'll still have to do your formal commitment in February for the group, but you are committing by doing this with the trip, okay? So kind of keep that in mind. You can register as soon as tonight. If you wanted to go home, you're going to get a link or a sheet that explains how to do that. You can go home, you can register tonight. You don't have to put any money down, but you do have to put payment information in order to confirm your spot on the trip, okay? If we don't have that payment information, you just look like a pending traveler, and if a whole bunch of other people sign up and put their payment information in, they could bump you from the trip and put you onto a wait list, okay? So if you want to commit and you're firm about it and you know right now we want to make this happen, make sure you also include that payment information. The rest of the schedule is laid out there. The only big thing you need to know other than the registration timeline is that the first deposit of $175 is out of pocket. So fundraised funds, any of these donations that they're talking about cannot be applied to that, and that is for insurance purposes. Okay, speaking of insurance, the fun stuff, right? So when you register, you're going to have a spot that's called trip protection, and you need to answer if you want to have trip protection, or in other words, insurance, or not. There are going to be 3 options when you get to that spot. The first one is standard insurance, the second one is enhanced insurance, and the last one is decline. You're going to have to physically decline if you don't want insurance. And I'm saying that if my son ends up coming on this trip, because he is a freshman right now, and he may, if my son comes on this trip, we as a family will be purchasing enhanced insurance. Personally, I believe that standard is throwing your money out the window, because the only way standard insurance kicks in is if you are dropping the trip for a covered reason. Now, I'm not an insurance agent, but I can tell you that the covered reasons are fairly limited. They're very specific. If you decide to drop out of the trip because your kid got into a fight with their best friend who's in the group and you decide you're just done and you're going to cancel the whole trip, you're not going to be covered, obviously. If you drop out of a concern for COVID and you have standard insurance, you will not be covered. But if you have enhanced insurance, you literally are covered for any reason for canceling, okay? So it's a really important distinction. Standard is not going to get you your money back for any reason. Enhanced will. So we really are pushing enhanced or decline altogether, because I feel the standard is a waste of your money. Anything else you need to know about that? If you have the enhanced insurance and you do have a covered reason, so you actually get COVID 3 days before the trip and you can't go on the trip, you could make a claim and get 100% back. Okay? That's a covered reason. But if you quit the trip for an uncovered reason, you get 75% back that you've paid into the trip, okay? And if you do the research, look at insurance companies, all throughout the country, 75% is the most that you're ever going to get back from a cancel for any reason policy, unless you have a covered reason. It's a lot of information, and I'll be up here afterwards if you have more specific questions about the insurance. So how do I register? Do you want to pull up the... Great. Mr. McVeigh is going to come on up here and talk to you about this process.
Great. So one more website, right? That's what this is. But what we've tried to do is create kind of a one-stop shop for everyone, okay? And so what is up on here is a specific website for our trip. Now, this is actually embedded in the Sun Prairie Band Boosters website that's already there. So assignment, if you have not already bookmarked spbb.org, let's go ahead and do that tonight, because your kid's school has a menued area on that site. Jazz has a menued area on that site. Our boosters have a menued area on that site. And Sound of Some Prairie also has a menued area on that site. So this is actually a drop down from SOSP. And you can access tons of stuff related to the trip. And this is just basically the start of it. A couple of things that are going to be important for you. The blue buttons on the upper right corner. Okay, so once you go here and you want to register for the trip, thank you, Mr. Is that Matt? Yeah, circling? All right. So literally all you do is click that button and it starts the registration process. Okay, so it's super, super simple to do. Clicking that button will actually take you to the registration link from the travel company. It just takes you there directly, okay? And you can go ahead and start that process. Anytime that you want to manage your trip, meaning that you want to maybe make a payment ahead of time or anything like that, you would use the Manage Your Trip button. And as we get further into this process and the registration window closes, then Manage Your Trip will obviously be the only thing that you see there. To the left of that, are some e-forms that we have created to make it very easy for you to use your ledger funds. All right, so these forms all have dates associated with them that correspond to our payment dates. So obviously, as that payment schedule gets going, you may choose to use the ledger funds for payment number 2 and payment number 4, but not 3. And that's totally fine. And those forms are easy to use. Now, some of those, as we get into the process, also deal with the donation fee aspect of Sound of Some Prairie. So there's an opportunity for you to designate, which funds are going there, and then we basically take care of the rest. So the way that works is if there's a $350 payment that's due, say on March 17th, I think, something like that, you could actually do that ahead of time by March 5th. And do I have the date right? Yeah, by March 5th. And literally, if you have $350 sitting in your ledger funds, you can literally say, that's what we want. Boom. And it automatically is applied to your account through the Bob Rogers system. And once that payment date comes, you would already be caught up. Okay. Yes, it is also possible to go in excess of that and say, well, geez, I've got $500 worth of ledger funds. Let's just use it all now and just get ahead that way. You can also do that through that process. So that's what those forms are for. It was also mentioned earlier that if any parents are interested in chaperoning, we aren't taking those registrations yet. We want to really focus on the kids. However, we do need to know if you are interested. So there is a chaperone interest form actually right on the top. And you could go ahead and click that. We are asking some questions like, hey, are you CPR certified or something like that, just because it's helpful for us to know that. But we're looking for obviously chaperones for a variety of reasons. And there's even a spot that says, hey, do you have special skills? Like for us going down to Florida, maybe there's something that I'm not even aware of that you're like, hey, I have this, that, and the other thing. And yep, that would be a very good thing to have on our trip as well. Down towards the bottom, you do see the important dates. And this is kind of a layout of a lot of different things that start to kick in, including, I think, tonight, is on there as well. So those important dates just allow you to see when not only payments are coming up, but also when those ledger fund requests are due as well. So you can kind of track that. And if you want to scroll down, this is also intended to just be kind of an aesthetic, list and pictures of inclusions and stuff like that. So it's a lot of the same information that was shared earlier, just in a little bit of a truncated format so that you can see that. Ooh, we have a question. This is exciting. Awesome. Let's talk afterwards, and we can hopefully work together with boosters, and we'll figure that out. Yeah, I'm new to that process too, but we'll figure it out because we definitely want to make sure that that's a useful system. Cool. So like was mentioned earlier as well, this is all open and live now. So literally you could go to our website. The Some Prairie Band Boosters website, go over to Sound of Some Prairie in Florida 2022 and access these links and get your child registered basically whenever you want at this point up until February 26th. Let me know if you do have questions about the website. We're trying to make this as useful as we can for you, and so it's just kind of a one-stop shop. Yes? I'm going to pass that one off.
Thank you. Great question that I should have covered. So when you go into register and you click on this link, it's going to take you, you're going to create an account, and there's going to be a whole bunch of categories like medical information, emergency contact, things like that, and the trip protection where you're going to buy the enhanced insurance or decline, right? And when you get all of those fields filled out, a pay button will show up. When you hit pay, and this is the part you have to do to reserve your spot, even if you don't put any money down yet, you still have to hit that button. It will give you options of how you want to pay. There's 3 listed, but really 2 that we are encouraging you to use. The recommended one is through ACH, which means that it's essentially connected to your bank, okay? And that we recommend that one because it has no fees associated with it, because we don't get dinged any fees when you use that option. The other one is credit card. You can choose to use credit card, but you will have a 3% fee that's associated with those charges, because every time we charge a credit card, we get dinged 3%. So we're just covering our costs. So you can do it ACH or credit card. When you do ACH, what'll happen is a little box will pop up. You pick your bank, and then you log into your bank account. So like we're BMO Harris, I would use my login that I use when I do my online banking stuff. And then that's what proves that it's you, and it connects you to the account. Very, very secure. I cannot see your account number when I look at it from my end. I cannot see your credit card number. I can't see any of that stuff. It's very, very, very secure, so you have no stress about that. Those are your options, though, either ACH or credit card. Is your hand up? I don't have my glasses on because they fog up. Yeah, Florida has its own set of issues, doesn't it? So as of right now, there are no vaccination requirements at the parks, nor are there vaccination requirements to ride like chartered motor coaches. In terms of, in the school I don't believe can require vaccinations to do a trip, correct? So, do you want to?
But that's a good point. I mean, obviously COVID's a serious thing that is not, number one priority is the safety of your children and so on through this whole thing, not just Florida, but the whole thing. And you just need to know that Eric Nee, myself, for all the athletics and so on, that there's like a COVID playlist, you know what I mean? There's every kind of procedure you can imagine to get on a bus and how things look and how we take care of all of that. Plus, Drum Corps International has their recommendations also, actually their protocols. So what you need to know is for the trip and for the Sound of Some Prairie and all of that, things are obviously fluid and in motion, but already we're creating that pamphlet and that booklet to what it will look like and so on. So there's not going to be a mandate on vaccinations. We're going to highly recommend it, obviously. One of the benefits, though, with our group is that we're kind of a hub in ourselves, you know what I mean? And that your kids will be spending so much time with us, they're not going to go see anybody else necessarily. They're going to be with us, obviously, from dusk until dawn. So in a way, we've kind of made a bubble. And we saw that work really well with Drum Corps International. They created a bubble, and then when they traveled, they didn't mix with other groups, and that worked really well. But do know that that's going to be covered, obviously. Yes, sir. On the bus, we'll get to what the mitigation would look like, but right now, yes. We would obviously wear the masks on the bus, but, that's something that, again, working with our nurse and, I would use all the resources we have through the school district to make the safest, best decision about that. Like, for example, we can be outside in that tent and play, right, without a mask. Why? Because research shows that. So what we need to do is take research and take the best practice and all that information to make sure your kids are safe. So while I would say yes right now, things can look different in 6 months. But I can tell you the priority is safety, and we'll make sure we take all those things into consideration. So. requirement. This is an optional activity. They're not required to do it. If a senior would like to do it, they're welcome to do, because they, even though they've graduated, the opportunity is still available to them. Okay, any other questions? So yeah, no, we definitely want our seniors to have the opportunity to do this, and they are welcome to do so. Now, I know you've heard a lot of information about ledger funds and so on. For those of you not new to the Sound of Some Prairie or the band program, as far as getting involved with ledger funds are part of a system that we use, that we have, that when your students do some fundraising and so on, that a portion of those funds goes into kind of like a little account that they can use, right? And the way to access that and all that information is there's a great handout that we have for you that's on the website too, that says how to access your ledger funds. We use a program called Charms. Yes, another program and yet another website. But here's the thing. We're going to get through it together. Don't worry. But it's a really handy system in a great way, so that as you're raising these funds and you sell like these Bucky books and stuff like that, you got $35 for, or money coming back for each one of those, and it goes into that account, and then you can look at it and you can see it at any time to see how much that is, okay? And to give you more information about fundraising and ledger accounts and all that, I'm going to have Michelle Perko come down. She's the president of the Some Prairie Band Boosters, and she's going to talk to you about the fundraising options, the ledger funds, and just about the Some Prairie Band Boosters themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Gleason. We're kind of integrating a general band booster meeting into this meeting itself. So this is going to be kind of a business part of the meeting, but I promise to do it under 10 minutes if somebody wants to time me. So we do have to do some procedural things, and then we'll talk about fundraising and communication with you guys. So I'm actually going to call the meeting to order at 7:39. And I'm just glad to see all of you here. I know I have a daughter on sound, and she's super excited about the trip. But obviously the cost is a concern. I don't have $1,200 in my back pocket, so I understand that that's a big cost. So I'm just glad to see so many of you here. I also know that there's quite a few people on Zoom tonight that didn't come tonight, but are watching us from home, so I thank them for coming too. I do want to introduce the officers, just so you know who we are and half of what we look like. And I also want to thank our previous president. Andy, I think, is working, which Andy works a lot. But if you know Andy Ripplinger, he was our president last year and then the vice president the year before that. And he did a great job getting through probably what he didn't think he was going to have to do when he took the vice president role, but then COVID came and everything changed. And he did a great job this past 2 years making decisions, figuring out which way we needed to go, and leading us kind of through that and getting us ready for the next year. So I really want to thank him for all his hard work. Those of you who have met him or have seen him out, he is a very hard worker. I do want to thank Andy for all his work in the last 2 years. I'm sorry he couldn't be here tonight working, but his wife, Kelly, is here, and she is the secretary. She is finishing her 2-year role today, but she's also running again for secretary. And then Kathy Brock, where'd you go, Kathy? Oh, Kathy's way in the back. Kathy's our treasurer, and Kathy's been on the board several times, if I remember right. She's treasurer now, but I think she's even served as president in the past. So I want to thank both of them for their hard work the last 2 years and getting ready for this next year. So a couple of things about fundraising. So you did get a sheet that lists some of our fundraisers that we gave you. These are what we have scheduled so far, and just kind of the time frame of when they happen. How much you fundraise is completely up to you. If you can write a check out for that and you don't want to fundraise, I totally understand. But we want to give you as many options so that you can pick what's best for your family. I know there have been times, like right now, we're doing Bucky Books, and Miss Geidel's back, and she has Bucky Books tonight if you want to take some home with you. And that fundraiser runs through November 5th. What's great about the Bucky Book fundraiser is that if you sell 6 books, it's $91.25 into your account, which is a big chunk. And I don't know that any of the other fundraisers is going to get you back that much for just one book. So one book gets you $11.25 in your kid's account. It's also a pretty long fundraiser, so it gives you time to do it. It's not like one of those that in 2 weeks you're done and it's over and you missed it and you didn't even know it started. The difference here is that you actually pick up the books from the band directors. So your kid can pick up the books and bring them home with them on the bus, or you can pick them up, whichever you want to do. And then you just bring back whatever you don't sell with your check, and then they will pay us the funds and we will put them into those charm accounts for your kids. So I was doing a little bit of math, and 12 books gets you $182.50. So that's that's probably one of our biggest money back for the work level of what you're doing. So that's going on now through November 5th. And I do have some flyers out on the table on your way out if you want to grab one. And then the money and the books come right back to school to the band directors. So it's pretty easy to kind of maneuver. If you sell out of your books and you want to keep going, we can get you more. It's not a problem. Other fundraisers coming up, we'll do a fall fruit sale, and usually the cookie dough is kind of at the same time. That is a percentage of the sale will go into your child's account. Madison Marathon is a flat rate. We will just run one of the, I believe, hydration tables, they call them, and it'll be a small group, but then if you come that day, you'll get a flat amount put in your child's account. So that's one of those where it's volunteering plus you're getting a little back for your volunteering that day. We will do Amy's Pizza in January. We try to do that around the Super Bowl, so we can sell pizzas for that. Amy's has been doing this a long time. I sold Amy's Pizza 30 years ago to go to our Florida Disney trip. So they've been around a really long time. And it's usually about $1.50 per pizza that your kid gets in their account. We'll do a butter braid sale in March, and then a spring fruit cookie dough sale again in March and April. We do have a few Feed the Beat nights. Those will be done different. Those will go into the general account to help pay down all the different things that the band boosters support. We support jazz. We support a lot of different band items that are still going on this year. So we do have to put some of that money in our general account. Our first one is on October 4th, and it's at Mod Pizza. So we will be trying to limit those to like our local restaurants because we really want to support all our local places. So that will be our first one. We'll try to do one of those like once a month. And for those of you who love fish fry, we do have our fish fry scheduled as February 25th. We are discussing a couple of other things like getting sponsorships for the kids or for sound. So we're going to go to businesses for sponsorships. And we're also talking about a large event that we're hoping would bring in a lot of money that we could put to everyone's account. So we are working on other things, but that event would be in the spring. So we'd want to do it in enough time to get the money to hit that last payment. So we're working on that as we go. As far as communications, they already showed you the website, spbb.org. We also have a Facebook page where we tend to put everything else out, and that is facebook.com/Sun Prairie Band Boosters, all spelled out. So if you can get on there and share those events so that you can get your neighbors to come out, that helps with everything. If you I know sometimes our neighbors are the ones that we hit the most, but any of your friends, we will try to do even possibly a sale that you can do online, so family members from farther away can do something. And the last thing I'm here to talk about is board elections. So normally we elect a vice president who has a 2-year term. They do vice president 1 year, then president the next. We do secretary for a 2-year term, and then we do a vice treasurer. But we didn't have a vice treasurer last year, so our treasurer is stuck. No, she's agreed to run again as treasurer, so we actually need to elect her again for a 1-year term, and then we need to elect a vice treasurer. One thing you do need to know is, and I know you all know this, next year we're going to have 2 high schools. And there is a committee in the school district looking at how do we do that and what do we do with our booster clubs. So things are being talked about and looked at, and that's as far as athletic and activity booster clubs. So there's a lot of talk. There's a committee that just started last night, and they'll be looking at how the booster clubs operate, what do we need to do in the future, and there may be changes on the way. What those changes are, I can't tell you. I just know that we are trying to get as many booster presidents or someone on the booster boards from all the athletic teams to come to these meetings with a few people from the school district who will be making these decisions. So we're trying to come up with a plan. It's going to probably take us 6 to 7 months, but things could change in the future, and that would affect how the booster organization runs. So with that all said, I'm going to basically announce the nominations I have, and then see if anyone's willing to run for the open seats that I don't have nominations for. So I'm going to get the easy ones done first. So Kelly Ripplinger is nominated for a 2-year term as secretary. Do I hear a second for the nomination? Okay, and then you have to tell me your name. Did you get that? Oh, go ahead again. Shelby? Just put Shelby. No one's going to question it. So, all those in favor, or are there any other nominations? Does anybody want the job, want to fight Kelly for it? Anybody? Okay, all those in favor, let's just raise our hand because I could scare me. Great. All those opposed to raise your hand? There's not one. So congratulations, Kelly. You have a 2-year term of secretary. And then I'd like to do the treasurer now. This will be a 1-year term for Kathy Brock. She's been nominated. Can I have a second for the nomination? Shanna. You know that one. Okay. Don't have to spell that one. Is there any other nominations for treasurer for 1 year? All those in favor signify, all parents, I should say, in favor. Kids, you can't vote. I'm sorry. You're not 18. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Kathy has one more year treasurer. Oh. So now we're looking for a vice president. Is anybody interested in running for vice president? And does anyone have any questions about the position? I threatened Mr. Gleason that I wouldn't let you leave until I had somebody, but I'm not going to do that. We used to do that in Piranhas. If any of you have had Piranha kids before, they literally would make us wait. If we don't have anybody, we're going to be looking for someone because obviously the booster board can't function without an actual president. Next year, that would be a problem. So if you're interested, please email me, or you'll find my information on the website. Is there anyone who's interested in vice treasurer? Oh, I saw a hand. Of course you can ask questions, yes. Later, sure. So I will have you talk to Kathy, since she's the current treasurer. Generally, the first year you're being trained so that you know how everything works. And then the second year you kind of take over, and then you start training the person behind you. So we will have to continue having a general booster meeting to fill the positions. But if you're interested, or if you know somebody that you think would be a good fit, please give us an email. I will post it online again on our Facebook page tonight. Are there any questions about the Booster Club? Okay. I need a motion to adjourn this part. Oh, wait, I saw. Okay, we'll adjourn the thing and then he'll answer you. Perfect. I did notice that too, now that you mention it. I kind of know what it is, but I didn't think they said anything. So I need a motion to adjourn. I'm going to motion to adjourn. Can I motion to adjourn my own meeting? I'm pretty sure I can. Second, I always get lots of seconds for this. You could put like 12 names down for that one. All those favor, just raise your hand. Awesome. We're adjourned at, I did not go 10 minutes. 7:53, 14. Okay. Yes. We are not doing concessions at any of the UW games anymore. No, well, not this year. So, I didn't ask, but does anyone have questions about their Charms account or how that works? You can also talk to us. Yes. Awesome.
And we're going to put, there's directions about the ledger account and how to get into Charms and find your student's account. We're going to put that as a handy dandy button on that website also. It's under the boosters part of it, but we'll put it under the Florida part too, so you can see that, okay? And again, if you have any questions, you just email and we'll help you through that. There's some on the band staff that know this better, obviously. But Ann Cedequist, who is, obviously a teacher for a long time here, has a lot of training. We'll just call her a lot too, and she'll love that. On your way out, I know a lot of you have been taking notes furiously. I have a handout for you with all the information on it, including the calendar, updated, tentative calendar for the entire Sound of Sun Prairie season. That gets you all the way from, what month do we start in? January, so right from that first meeting, all the way through the end of the season into August. So it's got our best guess on dates and times and all of that, so you can take a look. And again, you're going to see lots of blocks of times and so on. And the thing I will just go back and say is that that amount of time together teaches your students that when they focus on something and they put their heart and soul into it, that amazing things happen. And again, that's one of the big life-changing things is that, yeah, it's going to take a lot of time. It's just kind of how this works, you know what I mean? And having them doing a job and something else, And I get it, but this is a very specific, intentional, intensive experience, and it just is. And it's going to fit some people, and it's not going to fit some others, and that's fine. But it just is what it is, and has been that way for 49 years. So we believe in it. We've seen the power of it, and I know you probably have seen it too because you're here. But we're excited about this next season. Now, you were asking about the price of the Sound of Sun Prairie. We kept it at $500, which is right where we were at $450, I think, 2 years ago. Travel, obviously, a little more expensive. So it's a suggested donation, okay? We can't charge you for sound, although, because it's a summer school class, okay? So since it's a summer school class, I can't charge for sound. But what we do is we say it's a donation, and your donation makes it happen. Without the donation, then we can't pay for the buses and stuff. So the suggested donation is there. So when you go to pay for the trip and so on, we linked the Sound of Sun Prairie donations on the exact same dates. So it's all at the same time. So all the deadlines and the due dates for sound and for the Florida stuff are all going to be on those dates, are going to line up perfectly. So when you look at the calendar, it's going to make the most sense. So when you page this calendar, you're going to see deadline for the first Florida payment, you know what I mean, deposit, and the first part of the Sound of Some Prairie deposit, the donation. And it'll just go take you through the whole year. So just look at the calendar. I think that'll help you a lot. And the ledger stuff, fundraising, get those Bucky books, take care of that, and take some of these opportunities and fundraise and so on. But just know we're a partner with you in this. We believe in this process, this organization, and we think, again, this is going to help celebrate that 50th year, and it's going to make something that your kids will never forget. I remember myself as a high schooler going to Florida, and I will never forget those times. And it's not so much about going there. It's like Disney. Fine. It'll be the surface of the sun. It's going to be ridiculously hot. But here's the thing. You're going with your high school classmates, right? And you're going there to perform. And having performed at Disney as a job, I can tell you, going down Main Street with thousands of people, it's like it is an experience. It really is. And it's something that your kids will never forget, obviously. So safety, number one, we'll make sure it's safe. And then two, we're going to make sure that this is going to be financially viable for everyone. We'll find ways to find folks to help donate to, and if we can lower the price even more. That's why the last price, by the way, said final price, you know what I mean? It's going to be $350, but the thing is, if we can find donors and stuff, maybe we can lower that down, So our hope is that the trip can even get less expensive. We've already dropped it $100 because we were able to do some finagling that way too. So we'll keep working hard to do that as well. Okay, so what will happen is on your way out, there's a drum on this side, a broken drum, and I got that from my school. You can take the yellow slip, that's got your name and stuff on it, just drop it in that. On this side is actually a nice little black ticket thing. You can put it in that side. And then these handouts are on either side that gives you the calendar and all the other information, okay? Anything else? Oh, Michelle. Oh, cool. So, yeah, okay, great. So Mrs. Geidel's got Bucky books if you want to check some out and take them home. All right, and if you have any other questions for Sarah, myself, or Matt, any of us, just come on down and we'll be glad to answer them. Okay, thanks for coming, everybody. How do we do? 7:59. Right there. All right, see you later. Thanks, everybody.